In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the water pump on this Ram 1500. This happens to be in the 3.6 liter V6 engine. Let's get into it. And with an 18mm socket, I'm going to loosen up the drain. Make sure you have a drain bucket underneath. And you want to make sure you do this while the vehicle is cold. You don't want to do this while the vehicle is still hot. And drain the coolant out. Now to help it drain, we'll take the cap off. That's going to help it drain a lot quicker. We're going to take the serpentine belt off. I'm going to use a 3/8 extension. Loosen the tension on the tensioner. Slide the belt off. Slide it off the alternator. Then you can release the tensioner. You take the belt off the crank, off the water pump, and off the AC compressor. Slide that out of the way. I'm going to take this lower hose off. Make sure you have a drain bucket underneath. I'm just going to use a hose clamp tool, hose clamp pliers. Slide the hose clamp off or down. Just grab the hose, give it a twist. See if you can break it free. If not, you can get a pick. I'm just going to use a pick. Just get underneath here. There we go. Go the rest of the way around. And we'll let that drain. And we'll just pull that out. I'll take this hose off, the same, just a hose clamp tool. Slide that down. Use a pick. Grab the hose, turn it back and forth, and slide it down. You might lose a little coolant. Using a 13mm socket, take this pulley out. Slide that out. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to take some of the bolts out around the water pump. This bolt, I'm going to use a 16mm socket, loosen it up. And take that bolt out. And this bolt, that's a 13mm socket. Take that bolt out. And using a pry bar, let's pry it off. Alright, slide it off. Now just taking your razor blade or a scraper, you just want to scrape off any excess gasket material or corrosion. You could also use a little bit of sandpaper or emery cloth. Just clean it up a little bit so it's smooth. Then you can wipe this down with some brake parts cleaner. Let it dry. Take the water pump gasket, the water pump, line that up. Get that in position. And get some of the bolts started. And the bigger one. Get that lined up. Once those are in, you can let go of the water pump. Just get the other bolts started. And I'll put the shorter screws in. There's one more up top. I'm going to put the longer bolts in. There is this little alignment grommet that's on there. So get those lined up. You could actually take those out, push those in first, or at least get them down further on the screw. That's just going to align the water pump. That's going to go up there. And this bolt. And then we have the pulley. We'll snug these down. This larger bolt is a little harder to get to with a torque wrench, but you want to torque that to 41 foot-pounds. The idler and this other bolt here, we're going to torque those to 18 foot-pounds. And all the small ones, we're going to torque those to 9 foot-pounds. Now we're going to put the hoses on. I'm going to move the hose clamp up first. And we'll slide it on. Release the pliers. Do the same on the other one. Up. Slide it on. And release it. Now take the belt. I'm going to go over the AC compressor, around the water pump. Around the crankshaft pulley, up over the tensioner, and back over the alternator. And over the idler. I'm going to take it off the water pump. We're going to go around the alternator first, on the top here. Get this lined up. Take the tension off. There we go. And line it up. So it's a lot easier to go over the water pump with it than the other pulleys. Make sure that's all lined up. Looks good. Yeah, that all looks good. Now we're going to close the drain. Just snug it down, not too tight. You can also use a hex socket, a 10mm hex socket. That works as well. Now I just have a funnel in the radiator and I'm just going to fill it with the appropriate type of coolant. That coolant's full. Now I can take the funnel out. Put the radiator cap on. Then you want to run the vehicle for about 15 minutes, checking to make sure it gets up to operating temperature and make sure the engine isn't overheating. After that, shut the vehicle down, let it cool for a while. After it's cooled down, check and adjust accordingly.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.